Before I begin my remarks, I would like to acknowledge Superintendent Stephen James. Thank you for being here with me today. First Deputy Superintendent Christopher West, Field Commander Darren Pitkin, Division Counsel Michael Dale, Lieutenant Colonel Paul DeCordo, and Major Steve Udise. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here today to announce the charges against Thomas Mascia, stemming from the October 30th, 2024 shooting incident that shocked Long Island and set off a multi-state manhunt. Mascia was charged with tampering with physical evidence, falsely reporting an incident in the third degree, and official misconduct. Mascia's father, Thomas A. Mascia, and his mother, Dorothy Mascia, were also arraigned today in district court in connection with this investigation that began after a search warrant was executed in the Mascia home in the days following his initial report. Thomas Mascia and Dorothy Mascia are both charged with criminal possession of a firearm for an illegal firearm found in their bedroom in their home. On October 30th, 2024, Trooper Mascia was assigned to State Police Troop L for a 7 p.m. to a 7 a.m. tour. It was actually his first day on patrol for that troop. At approximately 11:41 that evening, Mascia called in shots fired and that he had been hit. What followed was a tremendous response from state and local law enforcement, including the New York State Police, the Nassau County Police, the New Jersey State Police, the Newark Police Department, and the Delaware police officials who were trying to track down the shooter. Mascia was treated for a gunshot wound in his leg and released from the hospital the next day. Law enforcement throughout Long Island celebrated that he was safe, and we vowed to find the dangerous individual who shot him. But we never would, because the shooter that we were all looking for only existed in Mascia's head, in his imagination. I'm going to turn it over now to State Police Superintendent Stephen G. James to discuss the extensive investigation that led to today's arrest. And then I'll come back with some closing thoughts before we take some questions. Superintendent.
Thank you, DA Donnelly. Good afternoon. I want to thank DA Donnelly and her team. They worked side by side with the members of the New York State Police during this investigation, and we truly appreciate their partnership and their support. I also want to thank the law enforcement agencies, as the DA just mentioned, for their assistance. For their support was instrumental as well. I especially want to commend our members. This case started with an adrenaline-filled rush, no doubt, to find whoever was responsible for assaulting a state trooper. But in a matter of hours, the story began to unravel, and our members came to realize that the incident did not happen the way that it was reported. Throughout this investigation, they demonstrated their professionalism, they remained focused, and they established the facts. And they took the investigation where the leads would go, even if that meant they would have to arrest one of their own. As for Trooper Mascia, now Thomas Mascia, I have gladly accepted his resignation, which was effective January 24th. He is no longer a trooper. On October 30th of last year at 11:45, as the DA mentioned, now former Trooper Mascia was on the State Parkway, Southern State Parkway at exit 17. He was patrolling the parkway westbound when he spotted, as he indicated, a dark vehicle in the median. He said he pulled up to the vehicle behind it, and he got out and he started to approach the vehicle. As he approached, he heard several pops. He said the vehicle ultimately fled the scene. This report, it set off an intense manhunt. The vehicle described by Mascia was noted. We scoured the area, the scenes for the evidence, And as the investigation progressed the next day, members of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, they began to question the inconsistencies of, there were many, of Mascia's story. And within the scope of the days, it started to become clear that his story just did not add up. Our investigation determined that Mascia deliberately shot himself, and he lied about it, that he was shot by an unknown assailant. What I will make clear is that the state police, we do not tolerate such conduct, especially wrongdoing when a member breaks the law. This is an egregious act that occurred that not only triggered a massive response throughout the community, but it harmed the reputation of law enforcement in general. We will not let one individual's actions overshadow the commitment and dedication of the thousands of troopers and law enforcement who tirelessly perform their duties.
Thank you, Superintendent.
You're welcome.
This investigation truly was a testament to law enforcement collaboration and partnership. After responding to the scene, New York State Police notified my office immediately that a trooper had been shot, and we were looped into the investigation. Beginning that day, and for the next few months, my office and the New York State Police collaborated in the investigation to uncover Mascia's lies. Once it became clear that things weren't adding up, the investigation switched from a posture of who shot former Trooper Mascia into whether Mascia indeed shot himself. The joint investigation was thorough. It was relentless. It took us from Long Island to New Jersey to Delaware. And I have to say, the New York State Police did tremendous work, conducting extensive video canvassing, trying to find the vehicle that Mascia claimed his assailant was driving. But after combing the scene of the alleged shooting for any shred of physical evidence, bullets, tire marks, or anything else that could tell us what happened, those searches all ended the same way. 9 shell casings, but no projectiles found at the scene. No tire marks. Not a single video that showed the Dodge Charger Mascia claimed belonged to his shooter ever driving on any of the roads that we had video for. Questionable actions by Mascia caught on his own body camera. At no point did Trooper Mascia attempt to flag down a vehicle for help. No record of a single vehicle reporting shots fired. No record of anyone stopping to help a state trooper who had seemingly just been shot at repeatedly on a major highway. And no report of a disabled vehicle made to emergency services. The evidence uncovered and the absence of evidence told us everything we needed to know. Even though Mascia tried to hide his tracks, it didn't take long for everyone to uncover that his harrowing story was nothing more than an elaborate work of fiction. Our law enforcement officers, local and state, put their lives on the line to protect our communities every day. They put themselves at risk for our safety. And we have seen, even here in Nassau County, a routine traffic stop or police pursuit end in tragedy. And when a member of law enforcement is injured or killed on the job, we take it personally. I take it personally. And I know that everyone standing here with me today does also. Thomas Mascia knew this. He knew the seriousness of what he was about to do. He knew the depth and breadth of the rapid response that comes with the report of an officer shooting. He knew the fear that it would create, but he did it anyway. Whether for sympathy, attention, to ease a wounded ego, what he did is unconscionable. His selfish act wasted extraordinary resources across several police departments. It pulled law enforcement officers away from actual emergencies, and he put people at risk. Most of all, he failed his brothers and sisters in law enforcement, and he failed his oath as an officer. But today, he finds himself on the other side of the law. And I'm happy that we were able to put him there. Are there any questions?
Yeah, the gun charge. Is there any reason why he wasn't charged with possession of a gun, or if he's any gun charges in this particular?
There's an exception for an officer who has a gun in the house.
Why,
Yeah.
why is the firearm that was found in the parents' room illegal? Was it like a ghost gun? Did they not have a permit for it? What made it illegal?
The father is a prohibited possessor.
Is that what makes this an illegal firearm charge?
It also had illegal characteristics.
And can you just expand on that? The father is not allowed to have a firearm because of a prior conviction?
As a convicted felon, yes.
Ms. Donnelly, you mentioned bruised ego, wounded ego, I think you said. Can you elaborate on why that might be part of the story?
I mean, we would be speculating. I don't think we have any answers to why, but, you know, my assumption could only be that it would take someone with a wounded ego to think that this would get him the attention that he needs to soothe that.
You had mentioned questionable actions on his own body camera. Can you explain what those actions were?
Well, the body camera actually did not deploy right away, and when it did, it looked like it was being covered up.
Just to clarify, the gun that was in the parents' bedroom was not the gun that he used on himself?
No,
Okay, so that's separate.
separate.
And can you elaborate, I know the father was with the NYPD and charges were filed and was found guilty. Can you tell us a little bit more what happened in that case?
He's a convicted felon because of that case.
The firearm that you say that he used to shoot himself, that wasn't his,
It was not
It wasn't his
weapon.
duty revolver, no, or his weapon.
so it was a personal firearm, and where was that found in the house? Did he hide it?
No,
Was that weapon found?
yes,
Did he have other firearms along with that .22?
yes.
And you were able to match the bullet that was in his leg ballistically with the gun?
Yes.
You also mentioned that this was his first day at Troop L.
Yes.
How long had he been just on the job in total?
He came on in 2019. He served time as an ATO, which is our Academy Training Officer, and that was a 28-week period. After finishing that stint for the special detail, then he assumed the duties of a road patrol trooper. And it was that very first day back, as again serving as a road patrol trooper, that this incident was alleged to have occurred.
I'm sorry, Superintendent, was there anything in his past work that gave you pause? Did he have any disciplinary issues, anything that would have led you to believe he could be capable of something like this?
There were no apparent red flags. Obviously, we looked thoroughly in his background investigation, various interviews, and the history that he has endured up to the date, but nothing that would have shed light on this matter.
Thinking about that, is there any reason that you're re-examining the 2022 hit and run that he reported?
Yeah, obviously, the last press conference that we had, that was raised. When an incident occurs, we're going to look at all of the leads. We want to see if there are trends, what may be consistent or inconsistent. And that incident that occurred back September 8th of 22, it was only relevant for us to look at as part of this case.
But there have been no changes in findings in that case? I mean, do you think that that might have also been
That case was
fabricated?
unsubstantiated and closed by investigation. I would just suffice it to say that there were some concerns at that juncture, nothing that readily led to any definitive negative behavior, but as I said, it was unsubstantiated.
And you went through a psych evaluation, right? How often do they go through that? Is that an annual thing?
That's an initial, as they recruit, when you come through as part of your processing, you do endure that psych evaluation. And I've reviewed the personnel jacket myself, and there was nothing, any indicators that would lead us to believe that he would act in such a manner.
So do we know right now why he shot himself? There are some reports out there, possibly a girlfriend being involved. Is any truth to that? Wanting to get his pension, or I mean, what do we know?
As the district attorney says, it's speculation. We could surmise many instances, whether he sought to get a disability retirement, whether he sought to seek the attention of unrequited love. Those are issues on the fringes that have come to our attention, but it's nothing definitive. We can't make a firm decision on it.
Your reaction to the fact that this happened on day one, I mean, how premeditated do we think this was, and your reaction to it happening on day one of him depositionally?
Well, certainly part of our investigation, we were able to look back and did see that there were concerns, but it's usually atypical. I'm not going to read into it, but usually from your first day back, you're getting acclimated. You know, you're meeting with local agency personnel again, but to get involved in such an incident such as this raised our eyebrow.
Has the investigation shown anything specific about issues he was having in his personal life? Was he using drugs or alcohol, or have you come across anything along those lines?
No, there's nothing we can comment on about that at this point.
And do we know where in Hempstead Lake Park were you guys able to determine where exactly he shot himself in the confines of the park?
We were.
Was it, can you talk about the specific area? Is it near?
Near the lake?
How did you know? Was it GPS tracking? If you're able to say, how did you know that he shot himself there?
The troopers did an excellent investigation using GPS and other, license plate readers to be able to track where he was going.
And there was no surveillance of it, it was just strictly the GPS.
Utilization of technology.
Did he take his trooper vehicle to the park, or did he drive his personal vehicle, or do we know?
Took his trooper vehicle.
There were reports that a large amount of money was found in his home. Is this investigation continuing? Is there any indication he was involved in anything else untoward at this point?
The investigation is always continuing. The money at this point has been really linked to his parents, so we're going to take it from there.
How much
Money was found.
What's the punishment? They found guilty, I'm sorry. They found guilty. What's the punishment?
Well, it's possible that he could do 1 to 3 years in upstate prison,
How much cash was uncovered?
close to $800,000.
About the fact that his fellow troopers had to do the investigation, had to do the investigation to try and find a fictitious driver that they were concerned about. I mean, I remember, Mr. Udis, you talking so passionately about how this happened to someone who was trying to help people, and then troopers had to process him and arrest him to whatever extent you can. Just how does that feel for the good guys having this happen?
Major, I'll say my perspective as superintendent. We're going to follow the leads and do the investigation. We take the oath, and does that put us in a difficult situation where the leads may implicate one of our own members? Absolutely. That was readily apparent to us early, but we were still going to pursue it where it led. With whatever Mr. Mascia told us, we pursued that. But however, we followed where the evidence went as well. Almost puts us in the situation of a dual investigation. But we have seasoned professionals, and they're able to put their Stetson on and do their job irrespective of who is involved, and I commend them. They did no less this time.
All right. Is there any indication that his parents knew of the ruse that he allegedly perpetrated?
Not at this time.
Do you feel like the punishment was strong enough? The charges were strong enough?
I do. I do feel like the charges reflected exactly what he did, and I would just like to follow up on what the superintendent said. There are so many good men and women in law enforcement, many of whom were standing right here with me. And this was a blemish that he put on them. But just remember, it was him. Thank you.